Hey everyone, thank you for joining us for our web series, the ChangeNerd Learn web series. Today we are speaking with Tyson Bozier, a good friend of mine. I had the honor of working with him for several years. Tyson, thank you for being a part of this web series. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I work in change management and org development at Walgreens. Been there for about 10 years now. Didn't start in change, actually started there in corporate communications and worked in that with that group for a couple of years. Had been in previous corp com roles, but always with a change bent to it. Always on large scale programs or change programs of some kind. And so the thinking, the change thinking or mindset sort of became ingrained. And so when it came time to stand up a change team at Walgreens, it really just made sense for me to move over.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So in this web series, the whole purpose of the conversation is to highlight, the unknowns, right? Highlight the things that are not documented anywhere. There's a lot of art. The science is there, right? But the art of making it happen,
Yeah.
somewhat unknown, and a lot of organizations are trying to figure it out. So let's assume you're a leader and you were given a budget, right? And you were also given some high level objectives, perhaps from the CEO or the head of HR, head of IT, around change management. How do you create focus? You're given these resources. How do you create focus with a brand new change management team?
Yeah. Yeah, because there's a lot going on at
There's
that point. Yeah, I mean, usually, I mean, it's usually. I know for us at Walgreens, the decision to finally commit to standing up a change team at Walgreens was because a change went bad.
Mhm.
Something went wrong, and you know, the leaders in charge just like never again. We're not going there again. So, hey, I've heard about this thing called change management. Well, maybe we need a team on that.
Mhm.
Um, so, but that's a challenge in and of itself, right? Because they know they need change management, but they don't really know what it is. They
Mhm.
don't know what's involved, and may have some preconceived notions about what change management is going to deliver in terms of value.
Yeah.
For us, it was really incumbent upon us to come with a point of view about what it would look like for change management to live in this organization. So for us, it was really about um, starting with a vision, and coming with that point of view about what value we could provide in the long term. And in our case, our vision, just as an example, was about organizational agility. And yeah, I don't throw that around lightly because it is a buzzword,
Yeah.
especially these days.
Yeah.
But we had very long, meaningful conversations about what we mean by agility, and we were clear that uh, change management just played a small part in that.
Mhm.
And so that helped shape and define our focus. And from there, we could say, okay, well, if organizational agility is kind of the big aspirational goal,
Yeah.
then what we want to do in terms of our mission is build change capability across the enterprise. And so that focus makes a huge difference in terms of what services we provide, how we provide them, how we structure the team, what resources we bring to bear in terms of training or tools or whatever else.
Yeah.
Um, but and so that very first thing you can do to start creating some focus is starting with that vision. Like, where do you want this to go over time? What does it look like when your team's fully mature? And for that matter, what does that journey look like along the way?
Mhm.
For us, we had some key milestones that we thought, okay, we think it's going to look like this early on. Very tactical support because they really need it right now,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
over time it should look like this and then like this and this. And we took the time to really define what those stages could look like. And and then we knew what we were going for.
Mhm.
And of course, you have to align the business to that too,
Yeah.
and your team,
Yeah.
um, so that everybody's understands, where it is you're trying to go and what you're trying to accomplish. Um,
How do you so
and
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, so you set the vision, you set the
Yep.
mission, and you're absolutely right, right? You got to think about the outcomes first and then reverse engineer the actual work. What was the approach to take the relevant executives on the journey? You know, what would be that approach? What would you recommend? Because you're the leader of the change team, right? In this
Yep.
scenario, and then you have other people with varying understanding of what change management is, and then you got different layers of organizational politics happening. So how do you
Yep.
take the right people on the right journey?
It's funny because all the change management thinking and tools come in handy when you're doing this, because it's exactly what you would do on a project, right? I mean, like you use the humble roadshow. You
Yeah.
you
Yes.
create a you create a walk around deck that shows your vision, mission, what you're all about, how you're structured, and how you provide support to the business, and then you start to go on that roadshow. But that's just the beginning, right? That's just to kind of whet everyone's appetite. You'll get a lot of head nods. Once again, people won't always really fully understand it until they experience it. Um, so part of it's like just good stakeholder management, right? Who are the stakeholders I really need to keep this in front of?
Yeah.
And On the other hand, it's really working with your team to make sure that they how can I put this? Actually, it's really one of the hardest things you can do is working with one foot in today and one foot in the future, right? It's very challenging because you're constantly balancing the need to meet the business where they are now, while pushing the thinking even further. And so roadshow can kind of create some awareness of what you're all about, but it's in the nitty gritty day to day stuff. Um, you're sitting down with for the first time with a business owner of a program. You're having that initial conversation with the leader, and it's you're getting an idea of scope and how you could provide value to the project and that sort of thing. But before we got too far into that conversation, we would always have we'd bring that walk around deck,
Yeah.
and we'd and we'd when we'd walk them through and say, hey, look, we're oriented toward capability building. So we believe everybody in the organization should be good at change, that the
Mhm.
organization as a whole should be good at change. And so, yeah, we've got classes and toolkits and things like that. But that's not the only avenue that we have for capability building. We're also going to be in there shoulder to shoulder with you doing the work, so that that project team is going to be upskilled in how to think about change, and how to ingrain that in the things that they do as a project manager, or as a business analyst, or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, and so next time you have a project business owner, we're going to be having different conversations. And that's exactly what would happen, right? Like the second time or third time we'd work with that same business owner, they were asking more mature change questions, and we weren't having to start from scratch. And so we could see the maturity in them, because we had worked with them before, and it set new expectations about, okay, I'm not just bringing the change team in to create a bunch of tactical deliverables.
Yeah.
I'm bringing the change team in because whenever I do that, they ask those questions
Mhm. Mhm.
that get me thinking about things that I'm usually not thinking about, or um, they're kind of pushing the thinking beyond, and it ends up being a much better outcome at the end. So those are some of the ways. And again, by far that's the hardest part, is just the balancing act of living in today and meeting the business where it is, but still kind of pushing their thinking toward what maturity to be, and where you know you can provide even greater value. And by the way, you have to do that with your team too, um, because they're the ones who are going to be really entrenched in the day-to-day
Mhm.
short-term work, and so their minds are just naturally going to be focused on short-term things.
Yeah.
So you're, reviewing deliverables with them or talking about their project with them, push their thinking a bit on, okay, well, how can we do this in a way that builds capability so that the you're leveraging the organization to do this work instead of you are doing all the work. And so then you just become supplemental support, and that's not the model we've got here, right? We want to
Yes.
enable the organization. We want to build capability so that everybody's good at it.
Everybody's good at it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.